What's up, YouTube? This is True Raw 4 TV. This one hurts, man. This one hurts. I mean, it was just maybe 7 weeks ago that we lost actor Carl Weathers. And I was just informed that the news is broken that we've lost the legendary Louis Gossett Jr. He was 87 years old. According to his family, he passed away this morning in Santa Monica, California. Louis Gossett always thought of his early career as a reverse Cinderella story, with success finding him from an early age and propelling him forward towards his Academy Award for an officer and a gentleman. Gossett broke through on the small screen as Fiddler in the groundbreaking 1977 miniseries Roots, which depicted the atrocities of slavery on television. The sprawling cast included Ben Vereen, LeVar Burton, and John Amos. Gossett became the third black Oscar nominee in the supporting actor category in 1983. He won for his performance as the intimidating Marine drill instructor in An Officer and a Gentleman, opposite Richard Gere and Deborah Winger. He also won a Golden Globe for the same role. Simultaneously, he also became the first black man to ever win a supporting Oscar. He earned his first acting credit in his Brooklyn High School's production of You Can't Take It With You while he was sidelined from the basketball team with an injury. That is when he became hooked on the acting bug. His English teacher urged him to go into Manhattan to try out for Take a Giant Step. He got the part and made his Broadway debut when he was just 16 years old. Gossett attended New York University on a basketball and drama scholarship. He was soon acting and singing on TV shows hosted by David Susskind, Ed Sullivan, Red Buttons, Merv Griffin, Jack Parr, and Steve Allen. Gossett became friendly with James Dean and studied acting with Marilyn Monroe, Martin Landau, and Steve McQueen at an offshoot of the Actors Studio taught by Frank Silvera. In 1959, Gossett received critical acclaim for his role in the Broadway production of A Raisin in the Sun, along with Sidney Poitier, Ruby Dee, and Diana Sands. Gossett went to Hollywood for the first time in 1961 to make the film version of A Raisin in the Sun. I remember watching that when I was in high school. Unfortunately, he had bitter memories of that trip staying in a cockroach-infested motel that was one of the few places to allow black people. He wanted to become a star on Broadway, replacing Billy Daniels in Golden Boy with Sammy Davis Jr. in 1964. It was in 1968 when he returned to Hollywood for a major role in Companions and Nightmare, NBC's first made-for-TV movie that starred Melvin Douglas, Ann Baxter, and Patrick O'Neal. Unfortunately, during that time period, Louis Gossett Jr. had a day to remember when it came to racism. Gossett was booked into the Beverly Hills Hotel. Universal Studios had rented him a convertible. Well, apparently, some police officers didn't like, or somebody didn't like, that he was getting this treatment because driving back to the hotel after picking up the car, he was stopped by an LA County Sheriff's officer who ordered him to turn down the radio and put up the car's roof before letting him go. Within minutes, he was stopped by 8 sheriff's officers who had him lean against the car and made him open up the trunk while they called the car rental agency before letting him go. After dinner at the hotel, he went for a walk and was stopped a block away by a police officer who told him he broke a law prohibiting walking around residential Beverly Hills after 9 p.m. 2 other officers arrived, and Gossett said he was chained to a tree and handcuffed for 3 hours. He was eventually freed when the original police car returned. Of this incident, he said, "Now I have come face to face with racism, and it was an ugly sight, but it was not going to destroy me." Even when he was an established star, Gossett still dealt with racism. In the late 1990s, Gossett said he was pulled over by police on the Pacific Coast Highway while driving his restored 1986 Rolls-Royce Corniche, and the officer told him he looked like someone they were searching for, but the officer recognized Gossett and left. And that's something a lot of us have dealt with. Suffering in silence. You know what I'm saying? But Gossett made a series of guest appearances on such shows as Bonanza, The Rockford Files, The Mod Squad, McCloud, and a memorable term with Richard Pryor on The Partridge Family. I remember him also appearing on Good Times, and I believe he was Florida's cousin. I think there was in the episode. I think it was during season 3 when John Amos was having issues with Norman Lear and those, and all those guys about his pay, about the script, about the direction of the show. And he was starting to miss shows. And I think to fill the void, they had Louis Gossett Jr. come in as maybe a father, a patriarchal figure. I remember that a couple episodes he was on the show. I also remember him being on the Jeffersons when he played a longtime friend, or a so-called friend of George Jefferson, who was hitting on Louise. I remember him in that role. He also appeared on such TV movies as The Story of Satchel Paige and The Josephine Baker Story, for which he won another Golden Globe, and Roots Revisited. He also it's a series that I just saw on YouTube. I think I finished watching it about maybe a month and a half ago. It's called Backstairs at the White House, and I think it's a 4-part series. And he plays a butler, and I'm trying to remember the name of the actors. I know he's on there. Oh man, I'm blanking right now with some of the character, some of the actors' names. Louis Gossett Jr. is on there. Leslie Nielsen is on there. It's a lot of different actors. Leslie Ugglam. Leslie Ugglam is on there, and can't think of the other female name that plays her mother. But basically, they play a staff that worked at the White House for a 40 to 50 year span, from the administration of William Howard Taft, who's played by, I think, Victor Buono, and it ends with the inauguration of John F. Kennedy in 1961. So they are shown during that 50-year time span, of course, and it's a positive portrayal of black people. What I like most about that series. In a time period where, in my opinion, we were at our lowest culturally, even though we were in a disadvantaged position economically and socially compared to today, even though we're still in that in a lot of ways. I enjoyed seeing black people portrayed in a positive light, despite whatever they were doing, as far as occupation-wise. And recently, Louis Gossett Jr. appeared in the remake of A Raising the Sun, which just came out last year. And, he had his trials and tribulations. Louis Gossett Jr., he, in the 1980s, dealt with addiction to cocaine and alcohol. That was the times, you know what I'm saying? But he overcame those addictions. Back in 2010, Louis Gossett announced that he had prostate cancer, which he said was caught in the early stages. In 2020, he was hospitalized briefly with COVID-19, but recovered. And he'll be missed, man. He'll be missed. He's survived by son Sadie, a producer-director from his second marriage, and Sharon, a chef whom he adopted after seeing a 7-year-old in a TV segment on children in desperate situations. Louis Gossett Jr. was 87 years old.